Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. And please do let us know in the comments where you're coming from and what your Mighty Network is. But I'm Jessica Shambora here from Mighty Networks. I lead our brand and growth. And I am so excited to have Lauri Novak with me this morning for a really, really great conversation about her Mighty Network, which is the Photography Scavenger Hunt. And, you know, Lauri's built this incredible community around photography and people who want to connect around this as something that they are passionate about and want to master together. And so before we dive into learning more about the Mighty Network and what she's doing to create this amazing space and connection, Lauri, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, you know, how this all came to be and the origin story behind it.
I'm Lauri. I've been a photographer since forever. So I had a camera when I was a kid, and it just has continued in my life. The whole community actually is, we started on Google+. There was a woman in Canada who started this whole photography scavenger hunt back in 2012. And that was when Google+ was new. The very first round of the scavenger hunt had not quite 50 people in it. And we had 26 words that we were given by her to shoot a photo of, basically to go find. And it exploded. She went from having this first group of 50-ish people to 500 people signing up with under 10 minutes when she had signups. It was kind of crazy. But it became this amazing photography community of people who would help people. People have met in person. It's just, it was amazing. And Google+ was an amazing platform for it. Fast forward to April this past year when Google+ pulled the plug on all of us. And we had to figure out what we were going to do because nobody wanted to lose what we had. I took the hunt over about 2 years ago, I think, approximately. She had, you know, life goes on and things change. So again, nobody wanted it to die. So, and I couldn't let this group of I have about 700 people on my list now that have been involved in one way or another through the years. So I have a friend who's in a business group that uses Mighty Networks. And she also is a web designer and stuff. So she's like, look, let's do this the right way, which I'm all on board with because it was kind of, you know, you rely on another network. A social media network is not that great. You know, you have to play by their rules. You have to do what only they allow you to do. You know, you have no real options other than submitting feedback every day, you know. But so she helped me get Mighty Network set up. And the first time we did it, so this was all like trial by error and immediately because Google+ shut down in April. We were like, okay, we have to do this. We could have waited, I guess, but you know, the next round was like getting ready to go, and I'm like, okay, we have to get things set up. So we set up an all-time community, which is for anybody who's ever participated, and then what I did, because I wasn't familiar really with how things worked exactly, is set up a second community for this particular round that we ran, which was round 25. So it was okay. It worked. I mean, it was and I went back to the very first round that we did and used 26 words, which was insane to do for a very new platform. We set up a new website. We set up a new way to upload images, like the whole deal. But it was a really good test of the system because we had over 3,000 images submitted for this wow. Last round. So it was, again, it was a good test.
Yeah.
Because we set up two communities, it was a little confusing for people. First of all, people don't like change. That's just a known fact. Not everybody's up on all the tech stuff either. So it was we got there and it worked out fine. But from now on, we've upgraded the all-time community to a brand, Mighty Network brand community, so that we can have private groups. So each individual hunt after that will be in a private group. So whoever signs up for the next hunt will only be in that group. So they only have to go one place after this. So, but it was a really good test, and it worked out wonderful. It really, we're very happy. We don't have to be on any other social media network. It's private. There's tons of people who play who aren't on any other social media network. They have no profiles anywhere, and they don't want them. So this is like the perfect way to do that, without having to force people to join, the evil networks.
Yeah. Well, this is so great. This is such a great way to start. So, already you were saying you did some experimentation in the beginning. You weren't exactly sure how you were going to set it up. You had two different Mighty networks, one for the all time and one for that specific hunt. And then you decided, hey, I can go into a brand, create subgroups for each of the hunts, and then everyone else can be a member of the overall Mighty network.
Right.
So since it's so kind of core to the model, why don't you explain to us, like, just kind of give us a high level of what the hunt, how each round of the hunt works, and how frequently they happen.
Okay, so basically, they're probably about 4 times a year. I try to take a month off for my own self in between. I have my own business this becomes it's a distraction. It's a good distraction, but I tend to use it as I'll do this instead of my own stuff. So it's probably about 4 times a year. The participants get a list of 7 to 10 words, and they go out and find images or create images. It's insane the amount of growth that has happened since the very first scavenger hunt. The very first scavenger hunt was very much let's go find. One of the words was acorn. So there's an acorn on the ground and take a photo of it. It wasn't overly creative, but there were a few people in that group in the first round who very creative. One girl, one of the words was hamburger. She went and physically made her own big, huge hamburger hat, which is famous now. They went beyond just looking for words. So it grew into this huge thing, and people have come out of this group with their own careers and brands and styles, and they've grown throughout this. It's been amazing. So they get 7 to 10 words. They get 8 weeks to shoot them. And then we have 4 judges usually per round. The images get sent to the judges. They judge first, second, third, and then 5 honorable mentions for each word. And then things get totaled, and there's one overall winner. The thing is, there is no prize, right? There are no prizes in this. It's all bragging rights. It's all we're unsponsored. Everything's free for now. Because obviously there's costs involved now. We have a website, we have Mighty Networks. So there may be some small fees coming later. At the moment we have a little bit of funds. We have a guy who designed a logo for us, and people buy t-shirts and whatever from that, and he gives those funds to us. People have donated extra money for whatever we need it for. So it's a crazy, amazing group of people.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Such a grassroots effort. It's really beautiful. So tell us about some of the engagement that happens after a challenge launches. So, and how people are connecting and interacting with each other in the Mighty Network.
Okay, so one of the things that happens is some of the people take what they call behind the scenes. So when they create a shot, and some of these people go to amazing lengths to create these images, and they're incredible artists. So they'll record the process and do behind the scenes videos, or just show photos of what they did, or they'll type up a write-up, what they did, how the lighting was, how they shot it, what their ideas was, how they even came up with the idea. So whenever we have a new hunt, there'll be people who automatically just if you're new, this is what you should do, or here's what to think about, or here's ways to go about this. And they share that information, or people ask questions. I mean, I need a new tripod. Who can recommend? There's no way you're not going to get help in the community from these people, because they're amazing. So it stems from, this all started, like I said, on Google Plus. So the community was kind of already there. It was just a matter of getting it in a new place. And getting used to it in a new place. And I still see not as much engagement as we used to have, because people are still learning how it works, or they're not used to going there at the moment, so they're still kind of hanging out on other places. socializing.
Mm-hmm.
But they still come in and, there's a section for questions. There's a section for behind the scenes videos, and we're posting those on our website and sharing the links to those photographers' own websites. So we're hoping to help them get more traffic, to their own sites too. So,
right.
But any of that it's almost self-propelled. I hate to say that, but as the person who runs a community, I try to make sure, like every once in a while, I'll just like create a goofy little image or, and find out what's going on with people, or we'll do a countdown now. The next signups are July 3rd or July 13th. So I'll start doing like an image a week going,
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready? Don't forget, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So to create excitement and get people.
Yeah. I love that you just brought up this whole idea of behind the scenes content as being really powerful. I mean, that's something that we always think it's very powerful for a host to share, because in many cases, the members in the network love to learn from the host and understand what really goes into putting something together, whether it's a live event or a challenge, a scavenger hunt like you're doing. It's so interesting for people to see that, especially if they're in a learning state and want to kind of for themselves sort of figure out, well, how would I do something like this? Or even just how does this get done? I think for people, it's such valuable content, and it's so much easier for us to document that now with the phones that we have in our pockets and the ability to kind of take notes or jot things down or capture, not the images that you all are creating, but, the process. So I think that I'm really love that you talked about that, because I think for all of the folks in the crowdcast with us right now, like, behind the scenes content is so valuable. Documenting a process, so valuable. Yeah. So thanks for touching on that. You also talked a little bit about the challenge of moving a community. In your case, it was from Google+, which we actually don't hear that often. And we hear more LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups. But can you talk us through sort of what you did to make this move and prepare people and do all the communication around this is coming?
Basically, it was just mass information to people over and over and over. Like, don't forget. And we used Google Plus until the very last second. Look, if you're, this is going away. If you want to be part of the all-time community, you have to sign up here. People had started a Facebook group with our group of alumni and which is fine. And there's another network called MeWe, which people were trying out, because once Google Plus was saying they were going away, people were like, oh, I'm trying this, I'm trying this, I'm trying this. And all of those places, people will be like, oh, we're starting a hunt group, and I'm like, okay, I can't keep up with all of this. And I'm not going to. I love you guys all, but so I joined some of those at first just to gather people. I'm like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to post links to where you should be. And I'm going to tell you that if you don't do this, eventually you're not going to be, I'm going to lose you, Yeah. And I always joke about it, but it's true. And I'm always like, no scavenger left behind, So I made sure I had an email list. I made a form and had everybody in any of the hunt communities that were out there. Like, we had a new community for every round. So there were like 7 or 8 that I had under my control. Posted links to a form to fill out to sign up for the subscription to our website, so I can have email addresses to be able to contact everybody. So I sent out email blasts as well. And then on every social media network where I knew people were, like, if you want to still be part of this is what you got to do.
This is what's happening.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And what email tool are you using, Lauri?
I actually use MailChimp.
Okay. And what form were you using a MailChimp form to capture all those emails? Or
I think I might have used a Google form for those.
Okay. So just like a straightforward Google form.
Yeah. Just because it was just name, address, or name and email, basically. So.
Okay. And then did you want to have anything existing in the Mighty Network? How did you have it set up before launch?
I set up topics. I don't even remember what the ones in the all-time community are. I know there's a behind-the-scenes topic. There's an area for questions. There's an area for introductions. There's an area, I think, for, I have my own area so that people can follow me, so that they don't miss, like, announcements for signups or anything that might be going on with the actual program. I think there's actually a like recipe section, because at some point people started sharing recipes in the group, so stuff like that. And so that was all set up first. And then in the individual round community, we have, we had topics like the same that we had in Google Plus, a topic for the reveals and the winners. And, here's your list, here's your words, this is how it works. These are the rules. So those are all topics that were set up ahead of time.
Okay. And you'll set that up every time there's a new round.
Right. So I've got, right. So I've got group 26 already started, so that I'm ready before signups. So it's all ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What about community guidelines or welcome section, featured section, anything along those lines?
I think we filled that stuff out, but I think, again, and I probably should go back, and it's actually a good reminder, and look at what's there, because we've been getting new people. I mean, I want to say, it can't be 80. I had a lot of new subscribers in the last month, which is awesome. But I need to make sure that stuff is up to date for them. We've never really had guidelines other than, be nice to each other, no drama. I'm a no drama person, so that's one of my rules. But the group isn't like that, and it's amazing, because there's that many people that, don't have that many issues with those sorts of things. But yeah, the welcome thing is, I know there's we have a link to our website in there somewhere in the introduction, or what this community is about. But yeah, I need to go back and look at what's exactly in there.
Does the activity in the network sort of ebb and flow depending on what's happening with the challenges? Okay.
Definitely. So, like I said, signups will be on the 13th, and I'll post. This is just kind of a throwback for the group. I'll post a sign-up post in the community. And what happens is I post it at noon on the 13th of July, and everybody will start typing, I'm in. So there'll be like 150, 200 people that write I'm in underneath that post. I had to change it, though, because of the system change, now, and to make it easier on the people running it, like myself. They also have to fill out a form so that it populates a spreadsheet, and I have a list of who's participating.
Got it.
Because that used to be all done by hand. Like somebody would write down everybody that said I'm in.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously the engagement. There's excitement because the new hunt is coming, and then during the 8 weeks that they're shooting, it goes into a little bit of a lull. That's a time when I try to be again, about once a week, I make a goofy graphic or something, and I'd be like, how's everybody doing? Who's, struggling? How many words do you have so far? Who's procrastinating? What do you need help with? That sort of thing, just to kind of get people engaged and talking and staying excited while they're shooting their images.
Yeah. And what about when people share really great, ideas or inspiration or suggestions or insights? Do you have ways of surfacing that to make sure that everybody in the Mighty Network sees it? Or, how do you kind of handle that when you've got really great content that people are surfacing? Because it sounds like you've got a lot of members sharing.
Yeah, what we tried, and again, I mean, this is kind of all new still. I mean, we ran one hunt within Mighty Network so far, and it was a huge one. So we're still, learning what works and how to do things. But then we asked people for their permission if we could post it on our website, so that it doesn't just get seen only by our network, but it can be seen by other people. So we're hoping, again, that doesn't just benefit the scavenger hunt, but it also benefits the individual, so they're getting traffic to their site as well. So yeah, if I see somebody post something like that, I'm like, can we use this? Can we post it on the site? And then we'll share links. And again, I still share links outside of Mighty Networks, because we want to bring in more people or benefit, whoever else is out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that's a really great insight as well. And one that I've heard in the past, which is that if you have a Mighty Network and you're looking for ways to incentivize people to either join or come check it out or to share in the Mighty Network, letting them know that they may receive additional visibility outside the Mighty Network is huge for them, or outside of a class or course they're taking. A lot of these people are looking for visibility. And so knowing that you're giving them sort of a platform, and that, they can come, that by contributing, that there's that opportunity that something that they may have offered up or contributed might get larger, widespread exposure, I think is really valuable.
And the other thing with that too is, and this is something that we've talked about, the girl that helps me and I kind of brought it up. We actually had an in-person meetup last month. There was about 55 of us that came from the community.
Where'd you do that?
We did that in Orlando this time. It's happened twice in Vegas, and then this time we were in Orlando. So I brought it up because it's been a touchy subject over the years about making people pay, or asking people to pay, not making them pay. But with the way Mighty Networks works, it would be simple. And because of the amount of people we have in our community, it would be very minimal amount just to help pay for the website, pay for the Mighty Network subscription. So I actually wrote this, I write pages every morning, and I wrote this idea down this morning that, to incentivize people to bring new people in, so if you get 5 people to sign up for the scavenger hunt, you get, whatever, something, I don't know what, but it was just something that kind of came to me this morning.
An ambassador program. Yeah.
Right, sort of. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people join by word of mouth. It's friends, it's families, it's relatives, it's, other photographers that follow other photographers, so.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing about Mighty Networks that we like too, is that we can, when we're ready, or if we ever need to, have an easy way to get payments if we need to.
Yeah.
And they can be minimal. They don't even have to be that much, so that was another thing.
Yeah. And we have a lot of folks doing similar things, like podcasters who have an audience, and they're like, if you want to support, if you're a listener of the podcast, you want to support the podcast, you just offer up some amount. If it's not, whether you're running this as a business or you're just looking to cover the costs of running the Mighty Network. Right. And Audra, if you're in the chat, maybe you could share a link to a little bit more about people, if they're interested in the ambassador program within the Mighty Network, how that works. Hopefully Audra can share that link with you all. So we'll look for that in the chat. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your process, Lauri, of how you lay things out. So any tools that you're using in terms of planning your, just all of the work that goes into logistically figuring out, whether it's Trello boards or what you use for organizing events. A lot of the folks in this mastermind are kind of looking at the whole picture of how do I bring all of these pieces of my business together, courses, events. Right. And so hearing about other folks, how they're doing the work, giving us that behind the scenes is really helpful. So I'd love to hear about that.
Well, initially we just, again, it's myself and the girl that does the behind the scenes stuff. So she handles most of the technical stuff, setting things up. But we started using, actually you mentioned Trello, and we just started using it, her and I, because before we were sending emails back and forth, or we were chatting back and forth, and it would be like, okay, wait a minute, this is here, what's done, what's not, I use a planner and write stuff, and I add it to my calendar. But like the meetup that we just did in person, mostly that was done by a Facebook group. We had the information within the round 25 community so that people could find it. But the people that actually went were all in one Facebook group. So all the information was kind of shared there. So, that's something, again, that was in the middle of all this other stuff, all these changes and everything. So it was a little like, we're just going to make this happen.
Yeah.
But future meetups, hopefully will be planned differently and within the all-time community so that we can have it in one place. And again, now that we have the brand version, we can set up a private group within there for the meetup people, and we don't have to go outside and everybody's not searching for where it is. I can't find this information, Yeah. So that will help. But yeah, I again, we just started using Trello. I'm a big fan of lists, and I think it helps because we've done it so many times that it's almost relatively automatic.
Yeah.
This is the day we're going to start. These are 8 weeks. This is what happens. Judges sometimes take longer than others, so that one kind of goes, is flexible, but there's there are deadlines. The person who handled this before me used to extend the deadlines, and it became crazy.
Yeah, unwieldy.
Because people are like, well, I've been done for 2 weeks and now you're extending it. And it just, so I stick to the deadlines and make sure everything is set up before, I'm already, like I said, I've already got the next round fairly set up. I just have to do some little things within it in the group and set up, the email and all that so that we're ready to go when it's time.
Yeah. Tell me, how many people did you have in the Google Plus group?
I would say, based on my email list, I have almost 700 people. So probably give or take that many.
And then how many have moved to the Mighty Network? Just so people who are making a move can get a sense of. I
think that there's about 600 people in the all-time. I think. And then the group that just did the round 25 was 250 to 300. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So, that sounds like a pretty good, good number.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about some of the different features that you are using. Do you guys use the polls or questions feature at all?
We don't, and I haven't. Again, because this all happened really quickly when Google shut down, that we had to get things rolling. I haven't even looked into some of those yet, to be honest. I think that they probably would be helpful. Polls for sure, because we're always, and I set up Google Forms a lot of times to do stuff like that. Here's a pick of 5 cities for the next meetup. Where do you guys want to go? But those obviously could work within the community easily. Questions, I haven't looked at that.
Yeah. How valuable is it to your group to have access to mobile apps for accessing the community?
It's good. It's very important. There's some people who don't use, that's how they use it. I'm the opposite, because I sit in front of my laptop most of the day. I don't use my phone for stuff. So that was another one of those things that we had to figure out as we switched, because some people were like, I can't get in on my mobile, or I can only get into one community, but I can't get in the other, So we worked our way through all of that when we set it up. But which will help now that we're just with the brand community. It'll be much easier for one place to go. And, but it's a huge, that's how things are today,
Yeah. And when you brought people over, did you provide any sort of step-by-step, here's what you do, you go to this website, you create a profile, how did you do that?
Not totally.
Okay. Would you recommend that to other hosts?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And it's on our list to write up, this is how it works. I think that when you first open a community, you got that from Mighty Networks already in there, kind of an overview of how Mighty Networks works. And we shared that, but we didn't tweak it to be, for our community only, so, and that is something on our list, is to make it more specific for our group.
Yeah.
But it's very important because, again, people don't like change.
Yeah.
It's new. It doesn't work exactly like what we used before. And everything works just a little bit differently, so you have to explain it to people, and not everybody's tech savvy,
Right.
So when you have a group of people that big, some people are amazing at it, and other people are lucky if they have, a laptop. So you really have to cover all your bases.
Yeah. Do you use icebreaker questions at all?
Every once in a while, I throw stuff in there.
Yeah.
When we start a new hunt, I'll do that a little bit, and that's another thing that I haven't really looked into, but I want to for this next round. Because I know you guys have that in your, I think it's in the brand level subscription.
Yeah.
So
but still, you can use that as a way to kind of bring people together.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or as a way when people join the Mighty Network to have them share something, and that gets them sort of used to posting and contributing right away.
Right.
Let's see. I wanted to find out how you, have you found it valuable to be able to brand or customize aspects of the Mighty Network in any way?
Yeah, I mean, we have taken it to that level. We never had like a brand necessarily before. So like I said before, we had a guy, one of our participants is a designer, and he's amazing with what he does, and he designed a logo for us.
Yeah.
So that we could put that out there. You know, we're setting ourselves up to be a little bit more than what we were before.
Yeah.
It's a little more professional. You know, we're setting ourselves up for the future if at some point, and again, it's a touchy kind of subject within the group, but we could find sponsors. We could have subscriptions. We could make it more than what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but because it's never been that,
right,
it's one of those things that, you know, it may never happen, but we're set up to be able to do that if we need to.
Yeah.
It's someday, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to remind the folks listening in that if you have questions for Lauri about this, please post them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you if you have specific thoughts or ideas, things you want to hear from her about. I think just her network in particular is just so interesting from the perspective of, they're not charging for it right now, but they're clearly offering their members a lot of value. And, as we've been talking a lot in our mastermind about what does it look like to provide the members of your Mighty Network with value such that it becomes a really important part of their life and something that they naturally gravitate towards contributing to the community, being part of it, staying involved. And it really sounds like that's what you've built, Lauri, with this group in terms of people just coming back, and they may not participate in every hunt. They might skip one and then come back, but it's a passion point for them and something that they come together around, and that there's just so much value built in to that, so that you have this opportunity now of, do you want to take it to that level of, can you turn it into a business or charge for it or see what's next or bring sponsors in or whatever it is. So I think, you've built the makings of that. Now it's a question of where do you want to take it? So,
And again, it might never change. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's no prize. It's just, that's kind of how it works, but.
Right. But these folks are all coming together to do something exciting together, to master their photography skills together. And this is like a fun sort of structured way in which they can sort of help each other up level those skills, both from not just the photography perspective, but also the editing, right? Because that's a big part
editing,
of it as well.
And honestly, even beyond that, the relationships. We joke about it because most of us are very introverted and not all that social. But when you get together as a group, you feel like you're like with long lost family and friends that you want to hang out with, So it's become way more than about the photography, the interactions and the relationships, which, I think we all know is important. Relationships are important in business.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. And I think that that's what a lot of our hosts are wanting to provide, is that sense of belonging, which you've created. And so if you were, to give one piece of advice to other hosts who are in this, process of trying to create this thing, which is so valuable, but it's not just something you can, staple together and,
just put it out there.
Right. I mean, your group has been out there since 2012. What would you say is sort of makes the difference and is sort of one of the, the magical sort of ingredients to giving people that sense of belonging and having them come together?
Well, I think that as a host, you have to participate. You have to make yourself available. You don't want to be like, here, you guys, this is for you guys, and I'm over here and I'll run everything, but don't ask me questions, don't engage with me. I think that that's a huge part of it. The girl who started it was very bubbly, very outgoing, and very engaging, and got to know her people. which is, it's something that I think about once in a while, because she was very good at remembering like everything about, so-and-so's dog and this, their names and all that. And I'm not that, I don't have that capacity to do all that. So I do it in other ways. I help people if they ask for help, or I try to respond. That's a huge one, actually. Response time, or responding at all, is very big. If you're running a community and people don't feel like they can contact you, and you're not going to hear back from them, they're gonna lose interest and disengage, because they're there to engage. Yeah. They're there to get answers, or to learn, or to meet people. Whatever the community's for, they're there for that. And if you leave questions hanging out there, or don't respond and don't acknowledge people, that's huge. You're gonna lose people.
Do you try to connect people to each other if there's like a question?
Absolutely, because I don't know all the answers. I'm not a post processor. Like I don't use a whole, like very little Photoshop. And there's people who are amazing and know way more than I do about it. So if somebody asks a question and I don't see anybody step up to answer it, I'll like ping the other person, like who I know can help whoever answered the question. Great. And that's something too, if you're running the community, to pay attention to the community. I check in probably more than I should. But set time. This is something I'm learning, but create time, like 3 days a week, 30 minutes a day or whatever, and hang out in the community and see what's going on, and make sure that anybody who posts anything is getting a response of any kind. Maybe they post a picture of their cat and they just wanted to say, oh, look, my cat's laying in the sun, whatever. Oh, that's so cute. You have to engage.
Yeah. Yeah. Which in any other network would be like posting pictures of your cat. But in your network, a picture of your cat might actually be appropriate.
Right. This is true.
Awesome. Well, I think this has been so helpful. I think there have been some really great takeaways from talking with you about making the transition from another platform, about creating a real sense of belonging among your members, in a place where people really come together and see it as, giving back to each other. I think you've had some great insights about the content, from the content side, about sharing behind the scenes looks at things and how engaging and valuable that can be for other folks. So those are just a few that off the top of my head, I found really valuable. Also about, being a platform where people's work can then reach a larger audience, that you would help lift them up and give them more exposure. So I think there's a lot of really fantastic things that are happening in your Mighty Network. And I think also just, your Mighty Network is unique in that it's structured around a very specific activity that all these people are coming together to do. And that's something for our hosts to keep in mind. Their thing that they're bringing people together to do might not be as specific and sort of structured as yours. Right. But this gives them a view of like what's possible. So maybe, when they're thinking about that in that framework of what am I bringing my people together to do? Well, it might not be to do a photography scavenger hunt, but they see the power in providing some sort of structured activity that brings people together and that can get their wheels turning around. What kind of challenge or activity can I bring my people together to do that will keep them engaged? Right. So for all of you listening in, that might be one of the especially big takeaways from this, which is what's the thing that people are coming together to do in your network? It might not be a photography scavenger hunt, but it's something that they can really rally around and that forms these connections, especially over one period of time together. So it's almost like a course in a way. In a lot of places,
like 8 weeks,
like an 8-week course or whatever, and that those people are all in it together, and so they're probably exactly like going through it, like doing the same challenges and all of those pieces. And so, for those of you who have courses, this is something as well. If you're thinking about either you have courses on another platform or moving up to our business plan where we offer the course software, you can begin to see how the community and the course experience really tie in together. So
it's helped me too, because I have my own Mighty Network community for my own business, which it's just like barely starting out, but it's helped me. Even just talking about all of this, I'm like, oh, well, I could probably do that in my own community a little differently than how I run the scavenger hunt.
Well, that's what we're all doing. Well, that's what we're all here for, is to connect the dots together and put together these sort of, insights and help move each other forward. So I want to thank you so much
Cool.
for the
Thank
time
you
that
very
you
much.
spent with us today.
I appreciate you asking. It's,
Yeah.
We love our community, and any chance we get to kind of, brag about it, we're all good with that.
It's really cool. And I think it's just, it always makes me feel so great when I hear that people are finding that sense of belonging with each other. So
Yeah. Cool.
yeah. All right. Thanks again,
Thank
Lauri.
you.
And thanks
Thank
to all
you.
of you for joining us today. Take care. Have a great
Thanks.
rest of your day.